So we'll call the meeting to order, September 19th, regular meeting. We have everybody here now, right, Ann? So we've
Yeah,
got
I'm here.
Yep. Are you still in Seattle?
No, I'm
Okay.
back on West Mountain.
Good, good. Okay. So we don't need any alternates at this point.
No, we're missing Mike, so you could appoint Diane.
Oh, you're right. Good. Thank you. Diane, would you be kind enough to sit for Mike tonight?
I'd be happy
Please.
to.
Okay. Now we got 6. Thanks, Kevin. We have approval of the minutes. I did not see the October 5th minutes. Did everybody look at them?
Yes,
Well, let's back up to
Where did you find
the, pardon?
Yeah, I didn't see October 5th minutes.
they were there.
Okay,
Well, an hour ago they were there. I don't know about when you looked.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they're there, but they were only there now. I looked at them earlier and they weren't there.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
what I saw when I looked at them is that at the start of the last meeting, Dave, you started with describing the minutes of the 21st of September as insufficient, and that you and Mike would be reworking those due to numerous errors and grammatical stuff, and they needed a lot of work. But when I look at them now, I mean, I see a continuation of the same mistakes in that, I mean, these are just minor, but my name is spelled incorrectly throughout both minutes. There's 2 T's on the end of my name. And in both minutes, Diane's name is given as Diana and not Diane. I don't know for sure if Diane's first name is Diane or Diana, but I know her listing as a member of this commission on the town website is Diane and not Diana. So I think, both those names need to be corrected throughout these documents, but that tells me that the work that you intended to do with Mike on the September 21st ones didn't get done. And now we're faced with approving the same minutes that were not adequate 2
Well,
weeks ago.
the minutes of the 21st were edited today. Laura did a lot of work on it, and I edited them some, and they were uploaded about, I would guess, 2:30 or 3 o'clock. So if you haven't looked at them.
I have. And again, my
have.
name is not correct and neither is Diane's. So those are among others. So I gave up after the first 2 pages. I figured they hadn't been worked on. But
Yeah, they had. I'm sorry about the spellings. I don't know why we have
I don't either.
missed Mr. Elliott's name. There's only 1 T in your Zoom box too.
What can I do about that?
You set the name.
Actually, I didn't. It must have been somebody at the computer store or something. I don't know. I don't know that I've ever been accused of misspelling my own name. So somebody else did it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But
we certainly will
that being
correct.
said, yeah. And so,
We can defer considering these minutes if people are uncomfortable that they haven't been up long enough. Have you looked at them, Ann?
Yeah, I have. I went through them. I don't know if it was the earlier version or the late version, but I found a lot of spelling errors and a lot of grammatical errors
Okay, I think.
and typos.
Well, most of those, I think, were corrected
Could be.
Today. So let's defer both of these minutes and correct the names. Look at them again and make sure that they're representative of what we want posted and not make a mistake here. So
okay.
everyone agree with that?
Yes, that's fine with
Yes.
me.
Okay, so we'll defer those. We have no public hearings tonight. And the application of Mark and Iki is still on the table. I talked to Iki yesterday at this chamber event, and they are going around and around with different solar configurations and are not ready to, they didn't bring it to design review, and they're not ready for us to consider it.
Okay,
So we'll move
let me
on.
just ask, Dave, just for a point of clarification, if we see something on the agenda like theirs, and we look at the Dropbox and there's no documents, can we infer that the item has been dropped from the agenda for that evening when there's nothing in the Dropbox?
I think it has to
So-
stay on the agenda legally, but the Dropbox shows that they didn't make a change, and there, I guess you can say that's a fair.
I didn't find any documents other than the reference on the minutes, I mean, the agenda. The
Right.
Dropbox doesn't have any documents.
I didn't
So
either.
I think what we'll do moving forward in these instances, we'll have a note on the agenda to be tabled by applicant so that you know, in this case, what Dave explained, they're working on their application. They still have some outstanding comments from DRB.
It's fine with me. I don't mind if they request tabling or request postponement. But I don't want to waste time trying to find documents that aren't there. And there's
Okay.
a signal, they're not there because they're not ready, it's not an
Right.
oversight. Okay,
I did the
How
same.
how come the agenda doesn't show up in the Dropbox?
I will have Laura post it. Usually that's attached on the email that she sends. Would you like it in the Dropbox too?
It has been in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not
I had to go on the website to find it.
All right. Moving forward, we'll make sure it's there too, along with in the email that she sends. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
Thanks.
Okay, we've got a new business application of Christensen's from Fleming Farm. They're here online live. Look at this. Pretty.
You hear us?
Nice camera work. Okay, can you explain to us, there was nothing in the Dropbox that really said what you wanted us
Right.
to approve. So can you tell us what you want us to put?
Okay, well, this is regarding using a far end of our property to put up a tent to do weddings and events. We did turn in a map. I hope you guys have a copy of it. Okay.
Yeah, the maps.
We have had it surveyed, so the tent is marked out, and the field that we do our parking in was marked out to show you where it's located. And
Yeah, it's been an ongoing thing for the past, year and a half. We've been trying to get this through.
I know you've been talking, and I just didn't see it. I saw the layout, and I looked at it, and there was nothing in here that said what you wanted us to approve. And I think that would have to go on the site plan in a note so that it would go with the site plan. So which end of the property is the tent going to go in?
it is on there, Dave.
Is it?
It's in the upper right-hand corner, far right-hand upper corner.
it's very small compared to the map. It's a tiny little thing.
It says 40 by 60. I mean, I have my trusty magnifying glass.
You need that, yeah. But compared to the acres of land out there, the tent is
Yeah.
quite tiny.
And I saw that and I thought it was already done, so I couldn't figure out what was new.
Oh,
Haven't you done that tent out there before?
Yeah, so
We-
we've been
we put
doing
it up-
yoga classes and,
Yeah.
using it for fun stuff here that, personal, but.
is that where when Katie Vincent got married, was that where
Yeah.
the tent was? Okay.
Absolutely, that's where it is. But we
Got
did
it.
that for her as a friend because she worked for me. So there was no money exchange.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's where it is.
okay.
Okay, so what you want is permission to hold weddings with a 40 by 60 tent?
I think it's 40 by 80.
40 by
I
80.
believe it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
Oh, that is 40 by 80 on the,
You can see it with that magnifying glass.
Yeah, you need
yes,
another
I can see
magnifying glass.
it with my magnifying glass.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the plan is that you would put this up in the spring? What month would you put it
Yeah,
up?
end of May.
May,
End
okay.
of May, and it would go down November. First week of November. Or earlier, perhaps.
Wasn't there a number of events limitation in the,
Yes,
Yes.
I believe it was 15.
right?
That's correct.
So they would come to the zoning enforcement officer to register for each event?
Yes, I
Yep.
would go get the, permit.
So there's a permit for each event, Julie?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, but it would be
Or-
great if I had.
Well,
Or they can apply for a permit for the entire calendar year. Let's say like she had perfect world, Julie has May to November booked for 2021. She can apply for one zoning permit, so we don't have to see her. We enjoy the visits from her and Nevin, but that way it saves her time and money since they were on the farm.
Okay.
So you're talking about if they have the dates set, Mike, they could just
Yeah.
come in once for that handful of dates or whatever. Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah,
Correct.
so we found that we're not really good at putting up the tent. So we'd love to put it up and get it good and
It's a
have
lot
it
like
stay
work.
up there for those 6 months.
Mhm.
And I mean, we'd like to do events for the town, some fun farm to table dinners, things like that, end early. So there's no sound stuff and things like that. We want to really make this farm reinvent itself. Or at least that side of the road.
Okay. More questions of the commission?
How about a guess as to how far the buildings are from the tent? The buildings on like Teller's property and the ice cream place and all that. That's way across. Or
Yeah,
is it the firehouse or something that's
the fire,
due north of where the tent is?
yeah.
If you went,
I would have to guess 1,200 feet,
yeah, okay,
give or take, something to that effect.
okay.
So I'm just curious, what's the access? How do they get to the tent? I mean, I'm trying to think. I know I've walked
It's-
back there.
it's-
It looks like
it's-
it's far.
It's
Yeah,
far. It's a
it's
dirt
far.
road.
It's
If you,
far.
where our petting zoo is, if you come down Shingle Mill Road, it
Right.
goes directly across West
On
Mountain.
our driveway, yeah.
There's a dirt road that heads out there, goes
And
past our
okay.
we
house.
have
And
plenty of signage and, attendants who would direct people, yeah.
we used to
Sure,
use it for
sure.
Halloween hayrides until
Oh.
Ned said we can't anymore.
Yeah, no Halloween hayrides this year.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And are
Why
there,
is that? That there's no, it's because of COVID or?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't
So
quite
we took a
understand.
big
Yeah.
cut in income, but it's okay. That's why we want to reinvent ourselves.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Donna, any questions?
So are they limited to a certain number of events?
15.
Right, so, okay. And it would
Per
be in
season. Per
6
season.
month period.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think they can come back in and ask for more.
The
From
15 is only if they ask for them all at once, right? That's what I'm wondering. Can they do more than 15?
They have to come back to us to get more than 15.
Okay,
No, they're limited to 15 for non-agricultural events. If
In
it's an
general
event that's,
period.
yeah, in general
Yeah.
period. If it's an event that's agricultural related and we actually have definitions for non-agriculture and agriculture events in the new regs. It's as of right. It does not require a permit. So the
is
weddings,
that,
for
Mike,
example,
is that something like a farm to table dinner?
I can't remember if we put that under non-ag or
Okay.
agriculture. If you just bear with me, I'll just read the definition of non-agriculture. So non-agricultural uses, activities that are part of an agriculture operations that are incidental and tied to agriculture buildings. These uses may be limited to weddings, workshops, classes, farm-to-table dinners, fee-based activities, or similar events. So that's the non-ags. That's the one that's limited
Okay.
15 per year. And then obviously ag events are such as the petting zoo, hay rides, corn mazes. There is no limit with those. Those are directly related to the agricultural uses under our regs.
Okay.
And neither is a permit required for those uses.
Okay, Ann?
No, I was going to ask the same thing because 15 seemed like a small number. But now that you've defined it as non-agricultural versus agricultural, it makes some sense.
And besides, you're the closest, right?
Am I?
Yeah, you're probably the closest to them.
You're pretty close too.
Well, could be. We'll make a measurement.
The one thing I have to say is having that back 40 finally under my control. It's so pretty. Have you guys noticed? Yeah.
I have, dear, much
Yeah.
more beautiful.
And I will keep it pretty and it will be mowed and perfect. And, you know, everyone will like that way more than, sorry, but
Then what, honey?
all your junk stored there.
I do see in our regs though, that we have 100-foot requirement for parking between your abutting neighbors.
Yes.
And I don't know that, I can't tell from the drawing that there's 100 feet there.
Yeah, that field that's labeled parking is probably approximately 500 feet
From
north
Sugar,
to south. And we can easily stay way more than 100 feet from there.
Well, didn't Anchor put that all down?
Yeah, well, it's,
Yeah.
I
I mean, we.
Well, yeah, I don't have the benefit of Bruce's magnifying glass here, so I can't tell which of the fields is parking. I thought it was the rectangle before you get out there, but is it the other one?
That's right, no. It's
No,
the
it is.
rectangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one looks closer than 100 feet to the side yard.
well, for example, a little to the west of there, parcel A and parcel B, those are 200 foot, approximately 200 foot square parcels. So that'll give you some idea of what 200 feet looks like there.
It's far.
Yeah,
It's good.
and it's drawn in, so it goes all the way to the north property line. We can certainly stop it farther back to maintain, 300 feet more than that easily.
Can you extend it to the west also to make up for, to ensure that you have,
What's
Yeah.
drawn in there, we have barely, we probably used about a quarter of that space for
Yeah.
a wedding of around 100 people.
right,
So
yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of room there. That would be approximately, that's shown about 200 feet by at least 400 feet.
Mhm.
So you fit a lot of cars in there without having to infringe on that boundary.
Yeah, I'm not thinking Don's gonna be out there with a tape measure, but just want to make sure.
Yeah,
Well,
we can put
Hey,
a note in
Don's
there.
actually using the tent this weekend.
Well, he was going to.
Yeah,
until he went to the hospital.
He got sick
No.
for an agricultural event.
Yeah, Don's
Wow.
having his farm bureau out there.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
But we could put something in an approval condition to make note of the fact that the boundary is further back for actual parking.
we should,
It has to meet the 100-foot standard.
I think we should modify, make sure that the site plan is modified to show that. Mike,
Agreed, Dave.
I'm drawing it on
Okay.
that. Get out.
are there any other dimensions that we should be checking?
200 feet.
The tent is, where is
No.
the tent?
it's just 10 acres, which this site has. Talks about the neighboring premises, and nothing specific. Then the parking is 100 feet. Noise, there's the time limits on the noise. Lighting, they're not allowed to emit light outside the property boundaries.
Is a setback requirement for the tent?
That actually meets the setbacks of the zoning district.
I can't read it, so I was just asking.
It's about
54 and
54 and just under 60.
Okay.
So it would have been 50 and 40 for the setbacks over there. So they meet the setbacks for a structure.
That's marked on the site plan here, which,
Yep.
now that we got a magnifying glass.
Yeah, I can't read it.
Hey, I paid a lot of money for these architects to do that.
Actually, they did do it. and
Oh,
it's here.
engineers. Oops.
The PDF just has to be zoomed up to.
right, yeah, it does. Yeah.
But the parking area does need to be modified, and it would be good to put in the dimension or the dimensions that are shown, like for the tent, showing that it is 100 feet from that boundary. Okay. Are we prepared to make a motion to deal with this? Anybody got any more questions? Bruce?
No, having attended an event there a couple of years ago, I thought, this is really going to be a good thing. And I hope it's very successful.
Thank
But
you.
Dave, were you talking about putting some language into a motion to call for a revision to the map, to the site plan?
Yes, I think we have to
Mark-
note it. on the site plan.
Mark the
Since it's a
100-foot
site plan
setback.
modification, it should show, I think.
I think just to be sure, we're at least 100 feet from, Don's property. We can do either one, whatever it needs to be. So we can. This parking area is so huge. Unless we do some big crazy event, and we can use that entire field and stay 100 feet or 200, 100 feet from the north boundary and still park all the cars we
Right,
never
or
need
we
to. that I
could
can
park
imagine.
in the tent field too. Right.
I think the key is as long as you're 100 feet from the property line for
Absolutely.
parking locations, you meet the setback
Yeah.
requirement for the regs. The configuration, it would be nice to have the map revised to show.
Sure.
Here's the northernmost
100-foot line.
part where parking, because really the intent of that reg is that's the kind of nuisance complaints that we would receive.
Yep.
Problems related to parking, noise, lights. So that's why that's in the regs.
Okay.
That's not a big deal. We can
So we
have
just
that
call
done.
them and
Yep.
then what's the next step for us? We just give you the new,
We need, well, I guess we'll ask the commission first. If the commission is prepared to act on this tonight with just conditionally saying, have the plans revised, show 100-foot separation,
okay,
then it would just straight for zoning permit. The other option is the commission could say, I want to see the revised plans first before I act on it. So I have plans that illustrate compliance to the regs.
I don't know, what do
I was
you
going
guys?
to make a motion with it as a condition, not seeing it in
Yeah.
advance.
I don't think we should
Okay.
hold up till we see the.
Agree.
drawing, so.
It's not a big deal.
Okay, Thanksgiving weddings around.
yeah, we won't be doing a Thanksgiving wedding.
That
Probably
might be
not.
what you need for your family.
Unless you want to
though.
wear your fur coat.
And you get just a little hint, guys. I did a vow renewal thing there because I wasn't always the best husband in the world. Pretty close, probably. But so I did a vow renewal thing that at the end included a helicopter ride to Block Island.
Yeah, he had a helicopter
Ooh.
You should
land
do
there.
that.
Oh,
nice.
Surprise your
It
gals.
was really cool.
It was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Kevin,
it's a great spot.
are you ready?
I think
And
you're
we
ready
want to
for me.
offer that spot for the town to use
Yeah,
for
if you got
things
any
too.
ideas, whatever you want to
You
do,
know,
come play.
especially with COVID, it's such a safe, open space, beautiful spot, except not in November.
All right, zoning commission meetings in the tent.
Yeah, we have to take our tent down.
Would be good.
We can space ourselves out under the tent.
Yeah, it's
All right,
pretty.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, regarding application, when do we start getting ZZ? ZC 20-12 of Julie Christensen, owner, agent for site plan amendment for non-agricultural related uses at the property located at 44 Mountain Road, B11406-016A, Zone R40. That the application be approved with the condition that the site plan be amended to show that no parking shall occur within 100 feet of any abutting residential property line.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Donna. Any further discussion? Should it say that this is an application for weddings?
Weddings or events.
Yeah, it's not just weddings.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, it's non-agricultural events
Non-agricultural,
Yeah.
yeah.
to give
So
them,
they
give
come
them the
in
latitude to choose.
if you want. Okay,
Well, that's what's in the
Yeah,
site
the
plan
regs.
amendment for non-agricultural related
uses.
uses of the property. That's in the title of the.
Right.
okay. Any further
Okay.
discussion? Everybody happy?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstaining? That passes 6-0. Thank you.
Okay, I just have one question. The way this is 100 feet from any residential property. Directly across is Don Tuller's, it's not residential. Do we need to be 100 feet from his also?
Yes.
Yes, okay, then
Yes.
we can redo
Yeah.
that. Okay, very good.
Yeah, Julie Nevin, let's circle back tomorrow. Give me a call.
Great, okay.
Okay. Thank
you
you.
very kindly, and thank you all you guys for all you
Yeah.
do. Thankless
Thank
job,
you.
but thank you from us.
What a weird year, huh? But
Yep.
Very.
look, I was wondering, did I have to wear this on our?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh well,
We heard
thank you
computers
guys.
can
Yeah,
get viruses.
yeah. We'll totally
Yes.
make this town great, and like there can be so many great events out there. And think about that when you guys are planning something. You know,
Okay, we will.
chamber, like
Definitely.
all those, the Chamber of Commerce, all those fun things. You know, it's a great spot. It's so beautiful out there.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. Be well.
move on to our,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
move on to our regulations update workshop. Mike had edited and added the temporary, was it non-resident section?
Correct.
Temporary signs in non-residential districts to the document that we had been given before. And after looking at it at some length today, I thought it might be useful for us to go through this document and comment on each section to see if we can't get questions out in the open as to what we really need to be concerned about. And then I thought it would be a good idea if we got Bob D, if we could get him to come talk to us about the 2 court cases, maybe spend 15 minutes on each one and tell us what were the real issues there and how it impacts us, so that if there's some nuances that we should know before we pass our zoning regs, we'll have that background. You guys agree with that?
Yes.
Sure.
Good plan.
Okay, let's start with the page 1, the purpose. I think that came directly from our existing regs. And I don't have any real comment except that there's an S on the end of each verb, that it's just a nitpicking thing. On A, B, and C, when it says, in order to protect the residential.
Yeah.
So you're talking about take all those S's, 3 S's off, right?
Take the
Protect,
3 S's.
mitigate, assist. Okay.
Just a nitpicking sort of thing.
Yeah. I have one before that though, Dave, another, nitpicking thing, but almost dead center in the paragraph above is the word ensure. That's the wrong ensure. It should be with an E, E-N-S-U-R-E.
We're not paying for something?
No, we're not shifting financial accountability or whatever, so no,
Good catch.
it's an ensure with an E.
Good catch. That's right. If we go down to the next, starting with residential zones, the first question I had was, okay, we have pad zones and we have housing opportunity zones. I think housing opportunity zones is residential, but how does a pad stand, and how do apartments in the pad, what were they considered?
Actually, Dave, I'm going to pull up the pad regs right now because I think there may be language in there with signage in the pad regs.
While he's looking that up, Dave, on the line above where the words residential zone appear, on the
Yep.
line above, there's permanent temporary sign. That sign should have a plural and
Right.
has signs.
I wonder about this wording of design standards, because what we're specifying in this regulation is the sizes and, no, I get, it is, it does say design standards in the blocks below, so that's fine. That's the sizes and so on.
Well, while we're waiting, let me give you another close by typo. Down there in the box where it says one sign greater than 7 square feet,
Not.
see that?
Not to,
Not to exceed.
The T is missing, right?
yeah.
Yep.
And actually, what's not clear on this table is are you only allowed one sign? Or can you
Yes.
have one sign up to 6 feet, one sign up to 7 feet, and one sign greater than 13 if you get approval?
One, the way that reads for permanent signs.
Yeah, I don't think it's clear that it's only one sign. Or maybe it is.
Okay.
Maybe
Could
it
you
is.
just include like an or at the end of each sentence, like or semicolon, and then the next one or semicolon, just sort of to imply that it's one or the other or the other.
We could just say one sign is permitted in one
Right.
of the 3 categories below.
Yeah,
Right.
just because of the paragraph.
do it
starts
either
out,
way.
Permanent signs are permitted, so it's not clear that one sign is permitted.
Right.
Okay.
But it does say, yeah, but there's different procedures for each sign.
Right. But it doesn't say you couldn't
Yes.
have all 3.
Right, right.
You can only have one, but in order to get a big one, you need a special exception.
Right. So your pad regs are silent to signs. I'm confused in that with, I know the Hartford form-based code says when you develop a master plan that you're supposed to develop sign regs to go along with it. The pad regs are silent. So I would say in that case, then the underlying zoning district would apply for signage.
Okay.
Okay, so like in the Powder Forest, Highcroft, the underlying zone was
Industrial.
I'm trying to think, what does that mean in terms of sign? Would that mean in terms of sign size, for example?
So in the case, if we go to the proposals in front of you, let's say we're talking about the freestanding sign that's at the entrance.
Yes,
They would be allowed a freestanding sign, one per property. The total area of freestanding sign is not to exceed 32 square feet, 10 feet in height, 12 feet in length, with landscaping of 4-foot diameter, subject to a site plan. That's right from those standards are in your existing regulations.
right. But their sign seems to me is bigger than this. So we're immediately creating something.
How did they get that?
They came
We
in at
had
a,
site plan amendment
Site plan.
on the pad. We added it to the pad approval as a site plan amendment. Remember, they were like 30 days away from opening, and they came with a, oh my God, we can't put our sign up. So we amended the pad to include that sign.
Well,
I'm sorry, we amended the
somehow
site.
it doesn't seem rational to me to regulate like a Highcroft, which is, we could say it's not residential, but 150 living units are on that property. To regulate that as industrial land doesn't make sense, because that's the underlying zone.
Right. Now, maybe we should say that a separate sign plan needs to be approved in a pad site plan.
Right.
And not specify here. Now that
That's a
would
good
be-
idea. Is that, Mike, that's what you said, we did that, well, in effect, that we already did that once, and it was
Yeah.
done for them, for Highcroft.
and that would be consistent with that federal court case, which is saying basically you're regulating by location, not by user. So it's pad, meaning it's a zoning district.
But can we say the sign standards are subject to a site plan of the pad? So that because we don't know what goes into a pad.
Right, it could be something other than residential.
Right. And it could have sign requirements that are very different from what we're thinking of as a block of 8 by 10 or something.
Right.
Then you're not going to have any guidelines,
Yeah.
specific guidelines to go by.
Right, in the pad. I mean, I don't know how you can do it. If you think of something, let's consider it. But I'm just looking at the Highcroft
Yeah.
thing as a case where we've approved a sign that wouldn't fit in this reg. So how do we deal with that? We don't have to solve it tonight, but that's a thing we need to worry about.
I mean, we could just, add some verbiage to the regulation, to the effect that the pad applications will have to have signage included, and they'll be considered by the commission based on the usage of the land. So that, and this framework would be just that. It would be a framework for reference, but not necessarily dictating what the standards will, not dictating standards for a pad, but would be a frame of reference that the commission would use in evaluating the request.
We have to make sure we condition it on use. It has to be on the pad, on the zone.
That's correct. Dave's right. I think what maybe I want to ask is I'll talk to Bob DiCrescenzo about this and say, how would he recommend handling the pad regulations without regulating to the uses that could be potentially in a pad? Somehow tie it to a zoning district without calling out this one's residential, this one's commercial. Because and Bob will explain to you that federal court case, it really, Gilbert versus Reed really kind of ties our hands to say, a residential use should be treated differently from a use perspective versus commercial because of the users. It kind of points to, no, it's got to be by location, by zoning district. And that's our U.S. Supreme Court did that.
Well, we should have Bob give us some language to use, because the word is that communities across the country are developing, if they don't have already in place, mixed-use zoning districts, mixed-use zones. So everybody who's doing mixed-use zones is going to have the same problem. That you can't say, it's the nature of the use. But when you say it's mixed use, you have no idea. I mean, within a broad framework, what exactly the use is going to be until there's a proposal.
But we could say that the sign standards are to be developed by the applicant for PAD, depending on the site requirements for signage.
That's pretty open-ended though, right?
Yes, but it isn't, you need something that doesn't say usage. And we do have in the PAD regulations, things that can go from 5 acres to 150 acres.
Right.
And I don't know how some of them, if they're residential, it's one thing. Mostly residential, it's one thing. And if they're some industrial thing, it's very different. So.
Right, but part of my point, Dave, is that other communities are ahead of us across the country on mixed use and also dealing with the court cases that Mike has brought to our attention. So
right,
I think somebody's found a solution to the issue, and we could be working on this for a long time before we hit on it.
Yeah, that's very likely.
I'll ask Bob if he has any suggestions. So that maybe for the next meeting, not only presenting those court cases, if he has a suggestion of how to approach that, we can have an idea or direction from Bob. That's defendable from his perspective.
But, they gave us, you posted a possible regulation. And when I read that, it was really very strange. It was hard to see how that fit in our world.
The 27-page one, Dave, is that what you're referring to? Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a little confusing. We have 5 pages and
we're headed for 3 or 4.
And we're still at 4 even after we get through. Okay. So that's
on this
one of
little
the
chart. I have a thing on the chart here.
Go ahead.
On the measurements, we shouldn't skip from 6 to 7. It should be, the first one should go up to 6 square feet, and then one sign greater than 6 square feet. So there shouldn't be a gap because we don't have any reg for 6.5 feet.
Yeah, that's right. Good point.
Catch.
Good point.
The same thing on the next one. It should be greater. The third one should be no greater than 12.
So I'll revise all the charts because I think all of them follow the same sort of pattern right now.
Oh, you leave a gap? Okay.
Yeah. The gaps will be closed.
Okay. Mind the gap.
People who went into algebra,
Right.
0 being in the center. All right. Next, how about the next page? Do we have anything more on that first page?
No, I don't have anything else there.
Shouldn't it read shall be 1 square foot for every 1 foot of building frontage? The total area freestanding wall mounted canopy signage shall be 1 square foot.
Yes, it should.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Where is that, Donna?
The third line down on second page.
On the second page, not to.
Oh, right above the chart.
Oh, okay, that's what, right, okay. I knew I'd read it and I couldn't find it. I have a concern on this last line where we again reference the town of Simsbury's guidelines. And I think this whole paragraph is too vague. I don't like referencing the design guidelines as a regulatory document. But then this whole paragraph doesn't say that we must, it says we shall consider. And that doesn't give us anything to say yes or no about. Mike, I mean, we've got a table that says if you've got a sign that's up to 32 square feet, you have the right to do that.
Mhm.
You have to,
You know what? So that last paragraph is in your existing regs.
Right, but is it allowed?
I tend to go with Dave's comment that if you're going to put it in there, it's got to be a standard. Otherwise, it is a little gray. It's not giving you direction. It's kind of it's given the.
So you just changed the commission. The commission will consider, from
Yep.
shall consider, will consider, that's it.
but
But we don't have any guidance as to the purpose or the location other than it's just the right size, right?
right, that's the only measure that we have. If we're going to be able to reject it because we don't like it.
Where it is, yeah.
Where it is. And on the last page, we have prohibited things. So those would be the reasons that you couldn't, you get rejected. If it was internally lit or whatever the violations are here, placed in the roadway, in the public right of way. So even though that may be in our current regs, I think it's not a good thing to have.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the attorney says, if we have to give up everything on design.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask Bob D a question on that paragraph then and say, we want to know the legality and what's the line that we can't cross as it relates to design, or when is design becoming
Unenforceable.
yeah, exactly.
But if you're talking about design things by district, so in residential districts, you say, or we were to say, you can only have white and black signs. Would that be an enforceable thing?
Also, could I put up a sign, a large sign on the property line between me and my neighbor? Like right on the property line?
In theory, right now, yes.
Yeah, right.
As long as that also goes with a commercial. If let's say I owned a commercial property next to you, under the current regs, I could put it right on the property line. As long as it's on my property line, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's another question. Do you want to put setbacks in there for signs?
I don't have a problem with that.
Well, in signs, we always, I think, have the caveat that if they restrict visibility, you might be able to use that to prevent an obnoxious placement of a sign. Whereas I think most people that have a business want to have their sign on the edge of their property where people can see it. I don't know if that's always true, but like Fitzgerald says it in the center. But if you drive down, are there people, like a gas station wants its sign up at the edge of its property, so you see that it's there?
Yeah, it's just more the residential interface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Bob can help us with some language on that point too. Because, there again, that's got to be something other towns have struggled with already.
Mhm.
In other court cases, maybe.
There are lots of court cases.
Yeah, I know. That's why I get a little anxious about, our maneuvering in response to, one or two or three cases. But some deserve more attention than others. But every time there's a court case, it doesn't.
The Supreme Court is one that we sort of have to pay attention to.
Yes, right, for sure. But having spent my professional career in the human resources field, I mean, I know there's cases on almost every kind of outcome you could think of in interpersonal relationships in a business place. So you could find almost anything you want to be supported somewhere in some court by some judge.
Right, I agree. Okay, where are we? Anything else on page 2?
How do you know which page we're on? Oh, this is 3. Okay,
It says it on the bottom.
yeah.
Page 3 is temporary signs, and temporary signs in residential districts. I think we discussed that last time a little bit. That people can have multiple signs. One of the things that I remember from last time was that Bob D said he'd like us to put something in that says you can't put signs in public property or rights of way. And I thought, well, how do you enforce that kind of thing? Well, one thought I had was that as I've seen on Owens Brook not too long ago, you've got people living along Owens Brook, and there are people putting political signs along that are on the right of way. They're close to the road, but they're adjacent to somebody. They're really in somebody's property. So it's implying that the person that lives there is in favor of those signs. And that they shouldn't be there at all because they're in the public right of way. So my thought is, why don't we say that if you are abutting a public right of way, you're a property owner abutting a public right of way. If someone places temporary signs illegally, you're entitled to remove them without notice. And
And a public right of way, what is the definition of a public right of way? I'm not clear on that.
it's the roadway and the amount of property on each side that's owned by the municipality or the state.
Well, they don't own it, they just have a right of way.
Well, they effectively control it.
Yeah, and actually, in some parts of town, yeah, we effectively control it. Others, we actually have deeds for some of the roads. So we do own some of the roads. But we effectively refer to the area as the public right of way.
So there's not a uniform definition or practice. It's whatever it is, but it's the right of way.
Well, state roads, I think it's a pretty well-defined map.
Yeah. But how far back is it? I mean, well, as if, for instance, I have some signs, as I traditionally do during political season. I have signs in my front yard. Does that mean that I can't put them within 6 feet of the curb or 20 feet of the curb, or what does that mean? Where's the right of way? How do I know?
So typically the right of way is anywhere from 50 to 60 feet wide. The road itself may be about, let's say, 40 something and change. So there may be, like, let's say on both sides of the road, up to 5 feet where that's the quote unquote right of way beyond your curb or beyond the edge of pavement, etc. So you put a sign in the right of way right now. If it becomes a nuisance in the sense that it's blocking sight and it's a safety hazard, normally property owner will be contacted, and we'd ask that either move it or we will remove it because it's a safety concern. But also, sometimes, let's just say we get a nice October storm and we get some snow. Well, if the plows come and they damage the signs, they're in the right of way. The town's not going to replace the signs. It's kind of
right. Yeah.
You put it at your own risk. And the last one is just the state. Obviously, if you put it in a state right of way, the state just grabs them. and disposes of the signs.
Under what rule or law?
They have, there's a few state statutes that has to do with signage in a right of way, that if you're going to put signage in a right of way, technically you're supposed to have a license approved by the Connecticut DOT Real Estate Division. Otherwise, it's a violation of statute and they have the authority to immediately remove it without contacting the parties.
And they do that from time to time.
Often.
Yeah.
In our prohibitions here, letter D says no sign shall be erected or placed in a public right of way.
Right.
But actually, that doesn't, the terminology is not quite right because it's any sign that is erected pursuant to this regulation shall not, no sign shall be erected.
It needs the word be up at the top.
Shall be erected on a place.
Shall be.
We don't need the no sign there.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. But we need the word be up at the top too, where it says regulation shall not be.
Right,
that
well,
should be
then you can
a
get rid of the
colon.
B's all along, right?
Yeah. All three on that. Yeah.
All right. I'll reword that.
Well, we were just talking about, Dave, is the illustration on Owens Brook. Is they're on, apparently they give the appearance of being on somebody else's property, did you say, or they're too close to the property line, or?
Well, no, you just look at people on Somerset and Winterset and when they live in the corner house
Oh,
and their property goes along parallel, and some people have come along and put signs up there that are not what they want.
yeah, I'm with you. The property owner should be able to remove those without notice to anyone.
Yeah, that's not even a legal sign because you got to get permission for the temporary signs, don't you?
Well, yeah, but they're illegal signs. They
Yeah, they
can't
become
illegal
illegal
signs.
signs without the
That's
owner's permission.
But
The new section, in the past, we talked about political signs, for example, had to have permission. This doesn't include that anymore.
So the Connecticut Supreme Court case basically says we cannot regulate political signs. They're not considered advertising. Bob will explain this one. This one was,
Right.
I think I kind of briefly touched upon it at the last meeting prior to this, to that. It had to do with a freedom of speech case out of Milford, Connecticut. And basically the Connecticut Supreme Court said the statute reads advertising, and they used the 1934 definition out of the dictionary as advertising, and determined anything that's considered freedom of speech that's not quote unquote advertising a service, business or good is exempt from the Zoning Enabling Act. So political signs, for example, off limits.
Well, what does that mean, off limits, though? Does that mean you can put them on somebody else's property?
No.
It means they're off that from a zoning perspective, there's no regulation to the signs related to because we don't have the authority under statute to regulate political signs.
So
But
does that
we can't compel the property owner to acquiesce and to simply live with the signs because somebody put them on their property.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
no. If they put them on my property, I don't like them. I'm taking them. Just like the state.
Yeah, you just can't put them anywhere. I mean, there's some.
Well, I think, Kevin, you can put them anywhere, but the property owner has the right to take them away.
Take it down.
Exactly.
I think with Dave's comment about the abutting property owner has the ability to rip them down if they're in the right of way, that addresses at least those very specific situations.
And instead of having to call the town and complain about it, which encourages delay and so forth, they can just take them down and that's it. Because that's what would happen to it if the town did it. Or the state.
So these regulations have nothing to do with political signs. So do we need to specify what kind of signs we're talking about then? So people don't think, oh, I can only put one 6 foot vote for
Temporary signs, you
somebody.
can put more than one. Donna, we're talking about
What?
we're talking about temporary signs. You can have more than one temporary sign.
Right, but there's no limit on the size. You could put a billboard in your yard
For political signs.
for a political sign.
Right. And this doesn't indicate that that is the case.
Is that right, Mike?
That's right.
Yeah. So this kind of reads like any kind of sign you put up is going to be restricted by these.
I think having Bob us will better help this conversation. And then the other thing, what we did not propose at this point, I didn't draft it yet, was new definitions to go along with signs. So to follow on your comment, Donna, yeah, I think there should be some better definitions of signs consistent the guidance that Bob gave us. But what I wanted to do was give a structure of the regulations by zoning district first,
Okay.
and then do the definitions. But I mean, I could take a stab at it too for the next meeting, while Bob's reviewing these regs.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that we can set up our temporary regs like they are here. And if by court case, somebody can put up a 20-foot sign that we can't regulate, then we can't do anything about it. But I don't think we should change our regulations and point out they can do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? I mean,
No. And there's no, definition of temporary here either.
wasn't there? So many.
No, I didn't develop the definitions yet. Because that's
so many days. Wasn't there something with so many days?
there's
Well,
90
usually
days.
90, yeah.
Yeah.
The current regs are 90 days. And in the current regs, there's some kind of ban on and I don't even know what they're called, the little banner, the upright banners.
So movable.
Are those movable?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I believe that's carried over from existing regs.
No, that's there. Movable or portable signs. I was thinking that was something else. I think I have to go back to the current ones.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it should be in.
Yeah. Paragraph A or line A says.
Yeah, we didn't call them movable though.
Signs that rotate are otherwise designed to move. That's one I would say. The flags.
Yeah, C. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's traditionally what I've told people when they ask me, what do you mean that the feather flag isn't allowed on your regs? I usually refer to that language. It's designed to move, so therefore it's prohibited.
And is E referring to signs placed on public, is that land?
Public property, yeah, town-owned property.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and actually Bob DiCrescenzo's changing the language of that subsection. We had a discussion last week. I was hoping I was to have his written opinion for tonight's meeting, but unfortunately I don't have it. We have to address putting signs on town properties because as things have evolved, we've had people who want to put signs on town properties, and we're looking for a way that we could say yes, no, but not regulate by user.
Oh. Okay.
Giving us a little bit of discretion as a property owner. I mean, a private property owner, as you kind of indicated earlier, I can't come to your house, Donna, and put up the sign that Mike Glidden for president.
Yeah.
Because then Bob's going to look at you and go, why did you let that lunatic put a sign up?
Yeah, we had that conversation.
So
Okay.
Okay.
What else did I want to ask though? But so if you want to give yourself that leeway though, what is it based on? Do you need to then establish some guidelines?
Yeah, well, we'll be subject to whatever zoning district the property's located in for the regs. But
Yeah.
this also gives us an ability to say there are some things that the event at Simsbury Farms. Yeah, I think that event should have the ability to put a sign up to publicize it. The Mike Glidden for President movement, although it's gaining a lot of momentum tonight, I don't think that I should be putting my sign up at Simsbury Farms.
What if
Or-
you're having a dinner at Simsbury Farms? Then can you put your sign up?
Same thing. There, I would say, related to a temporary event, you want to have the ability to notify that people that you're there. I think under that circumstance, this would be one of those events. It's like, yeah, it makes sense to have that sign there. But then, other thing, because this was Bob D actually brought this to my attention and said that we actually have to put something in our regs about that. So what we were attempting to write was saying, here, you want to put a sign on town property, you need some sort of written authorization from the property owner.
But can it be something like a nonprofit organization?
Can't regulate by users.
Well, nonprofits are a lot of different kind of uses.
Yeah, but then for-profit will say, well, that's not fair. You've created a class. I'm not part of that class. That's it. Bob will explain this. And I'm sorry I keep referring to him on this, but it's these two cases have really made sign regulations and zoning very difficult. The fact that I agree with Dave with your approach. It's common sense. It makes sense to say it like that. So.
Well, yeah, we just need to talk to him then, I guess.
Community organizations, you can't really reference users.
Mm-hmm. So that's why we took the approach of saying, we're not going to say who the users are. We're going to give a discretion to like the town manager, the board of selectmen, someone saying yes or no to go on the property.
Well, then how are you going to turn down Mike Glidden for president? Sign.
It's a dying movement. It's easy.
No, seriously though, how am I going to, what's going to keep you from saying, oh, you let so-and-so put up a sign?
So, and that's why that's why I said Bob D's working on a revision on that very specific subsection so that we have that discretion built in.
Okay.
So everyone can sleep at night. You won't have any Mike Glidden signs throughout Simsbury.
But you'll have for-profit organizations that come in with bleeding heart things that they're going to plead that they're as useful as the Boy Scouts and the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're going to let the selectmen decide that's okay sometimes. I know lots of businesses that run as nonprofits.
All right.
Okay, have we gotten anywhere?
Bob
Hey, Bob.
Dees, and yeah, we need to talk to him.
So your next meeting is November 16th. So I'm planning on having Bob DiCrescenzo here for a signage workshop, and we'll get some make some headway on this with Bob D.
Yeah, I think that's important because there's so many fuzzy things.
Yeah.
There's some hard lines and yet there's some really fuzzy things that we need to figure out.
Great.
What else do we have tonight, Clint?
That's all I had for regs for tonight. I did speak with Bob Thursday about your bylaws. He suggested that you refer to Robert's Rules of Orders as a guide, not as a standard, and that gives you a little leeway. Otherwise, if you put it in as a standard for conducting business at meetings, you get into a lot of stuff that can slow the meeting down.
Okay, that was Bruce's point.
Right, and so I don't know if he took a look at our current wording, but it sounds to me like we should just leave that change, strike the change and just leave it the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Point of order.
What's the current one say?
I'll read it to you in just a moment. Hold on. I did write this down. Article 8's on page 5 of the current.
Well, we can pick that up and put it in for next.
Oh, here
time.
you go. This is the existing wording. It says, unless otherwise specified, the commission shall use Robert's Rules of Order as a general non-binding procedural guide to govern the proceedings at the meetings of the commission.
That's good.
So it's,
Pretty vague.
yeah, so it's a non-binding procedural guide,
Okay.
non-binding procedural guide.
Can you put that in, Mike?
I will do that.
But again, that's the current wording.
Right, we'll pick that up and replace the other one. And then we can look at it next time. There's no urgency of making a change, I don't think. Unless somebody wants to.
So the only other thing I have for the commission tonight is just to give a heads up that next Tuesday at 7 p.m. the Planning Commission will be holding a public workshop on a draft affordable housing plan for the town. They've been working on an affordable housing plan, which is required under 8-30J, the general state statutes. They'll be holding their public workshop via Zoom, and there'll be some information going out along with the draft plan being shared. I can email a copy of the plan to this commission if you're interested.
Yes. Yes.
Is that
Okay.
going to be available to the general public as well before the workshop?
Yeah, well, obviously, under the current direction of the governor, yes, within 24 hours of the meeting, we have to have it posted.
But not before the meeting?
We're going to try to get it posted, let's say by Wednesday, so in the next 48 hours.
Oh, okay.
So to give the public some ample time to review the document, because I mean, the document, it's just, they're following what statute requires in developing a plan.
Okay.
Okay.
So they've had multiple workshops already. This is for public to engage, right?
This is the first workshop for this. They've had meetings where they've discussed the matter. This will be the
All those
first
workshops. What's the
No,
difference?
they've had workshops, but really they did not invite the public to the meeting to be an active participant in the discussion. It's just been the commission having a workshop. This will be the first meeting that they're holding and basically almost similar to a public hearing, saying, here's our first version of our draft plan. What do you think? To anyone.
Right.
And that'll be on the town
I got it.
website under the planning.
Yeah, if anyone's interested, I mean, we will share the invite to this commission entirely if the commission wants those agendas forwarded to them for that one meeting.
I would.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see to it. It will be shared with you along with the draft plan.
Okay, good.
But now, is there another step where there's this sort of a circulation among boards and committees of that plan before they formally adopt it? For some feedback or no?
Yeah, they will. The first step was they wanted to get the public input in on this, because there was a few sections of the plan we've kind of left a little open just because we're looking for more direction from the public or feedback on, for example, the importance of affordable housing. Why is it important beyond what statute the reports say? and just some of the goals, which then, like I said, this will be shared. The next draft will be shared with this commission. Probably they'll be asking for direct comments or official comments from this commission.
But
When
isn't,
it comes to approving it though, do we have a voice in the approval?
Yeah, let's say, after the public workshop, yeah, you're gonna have a crack at it when they formally refer it to you and say, what's your thoughts?
So we get to comment, but we're not part of an approval.
No.
So they don't have to consider our comments. Yeah, okay. Got it.
Similar like the referral process when you refer something to them for a zone change or a text amendment.
Got it.
but
There'll also be recommendations in there for zoning commission to make changes to the zoning regs. So they'll be suggesting things to us.
Right.
right, but
Suggestions.
this is going to be an update to their plan of conservation and development, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually was thinking of including that in the housing chapter so that it'll trigger saying that we've updated the POCD
And that has to be approved by the Board of Selectmen.
and a public hearing.
In a public hearing and an approval by the Board of Selectmen, but not by the zoning commission.
Nope.
But just to be clear though, the Connecticut statute that requires planning to produce an affordable housing plan is not the same regulation that calls for the POCD. That's a different regulation.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Right. Don't accuse the legislature of being consistent.
Oh.
Some of these things are really difficult.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, anything else?
That's all I have.
Anybody have anything else?
No.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Diane.
Under-
Diane was quicker. I saw her hand go up.
okay. Kevin, seconded by Diane, and it's a 6-0, no abstentions. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yes, have a good night.
Night all.
And, yeah.